And so they left him in the back of the car, took in his car, and drove off for 20 minutes, came back, and then told him he could go. And when he got home, he found out that his Palm Pilot was gone, and anything of value in the car had been taken away. So then the following day, he then took the DeWalt bus, and he would make sure he had nothing of value on him when they went across the border, and he got in the bus and went to work and came back. Because of a lack of integrity, whether it be by a thief or by the government, when you take from people, you make them poorer. And it's not noble to steal, as the mafia would do, and there's nothing necessarily moral about electing people to office who take from people either. Now rest assured, when people take from other folks, they promise that it's going to be good. They always say things like the reason the mafia, the reason I'm going to come into your tailor shop every Friday afternoon and I'm going to take 20% of everything in the till here is because I'm helping the elderly and I'm helping the poor and I'm doing these noble things with it. They always have some story as to what they're doing. And politicians, you know, when they wear the ski mask and the gun, it frightens people. So they put on a big smile and they look good and they say, I'm going to take this for a noble cause. And so I'm going to take this money away from you. And in the process of doing it, they will sometimes even try to quote scripture. And they say, you know, Jesus cared about the poor. And that's what I'm doing. I'm like Jesus. I'm going to help the elderly and the poor and provide and do all these things. And when people do that, and many people fall for it, many people fall for it. You read about it all the time in the magazines where they say, you know, that the caring and compassionate thing to do, a good Christian nation should do these things. And I just very simply take a book out that is kind of surprising to them oftentimes. It's called the Bible. And I just lay it up there. And I say, show me a verse. Show me a verse in the scriptures, any place, where Christ called upon politicians to use the police power of the state to take from one person and give to another. The fact is, he never did. He called upon you, he called upon me, and he called upon the church to help the poor and the elderly. He never called upon government to try to do those things. And I hate to bore you all with my example once again, but there's a good percentage of folks that have never heard me speak before, and there's just a good understanding as to why that truth is the fact. And that is why when we have somebody else help the poor, why, as you see these candidates running for president that are multimillionaires, but they only gave $200 or $300 in charitable giving last year, that who are the helpful people? These people that claim to be so compassionate, they're very, very compassionate with your money, but they're a little bit more controlled with their money. And so here's the way that it works. Let me just remind you of the story, and most of you could give it yourself, but let me do it again. And that is that if you're going to buy something for yourself, you care about two things. You care about price and quality. And nobody can judge that as well as you can. You might pay $3 for a cup of coffee at 8 in the morning, and you might not pay 50 cents at 2 in the afternoon. So nobody can judge that as well as you can as to how to best use the maximum benefit of the money that you have in your hands for yourself. If you're going to buy something for someone else, you still care about price because you're paying for it, but you're a little more flexible when it comes to the quality. And all of us have received gifts we never would have bought for ourselves. All of us have purchased things and given them away that we never would have bought for ourselves. But nevertheless, a second-party purchase is purchasing somebody for a second person with money that's yours. You still care. The final example is the one that I use of a fellow that goes to work in the factory, in the business, wherever he is, that anybody who's late has to put $5 in the kitty as their penalty for being late. At the end of the month, they take all the money in the kitty and they raffle it off to see who wins. And it's the last day of the month. And so the boss says to John, you're going to lunch. Why don't you count, see how much money is in there, and we'll raffle it off and we'll see who wins. And so it's your time and you go to lunch and you're coming back and you got $150 in your pocket and you don't know exactly what to do with it. And you're looking around and there in the window is this 6-foot tall stuffed bunny rabbit. and you go over and you check and you look at it, it costs $149. You think, oh, this is just so much fun. And so you buy the 6-foot-tall bunny rabbit and you take it over and you put it in the closet and you wait till the end of the day, and the boss invites everybody down. He lectures them about being late, and everybody draws their number to see who wins. And Sally, the new secretary, she wins. And everybody says, what does she win? You go over and they bring out the stuffed bunny rabbit. Everybody thinks, oh, that's just so cute. That's so funny. You go over and you stuff it into her car and she drives off and go home. Now, what is that? That is called a third-party purchase. A third-party purchase, remember, a first-party purchase is where you buy your own money for yourself, you use it to maximum benefit. A third-party purchase is money that's spending money that's not yours, therefore you don't care about price, to purchase something you will not personally consume, therefore you're not concerned about quality. That is called a third-party purchase. Now here's the point, and here's why it's important for us to remember this at this time of year. By definition, all government purchases are third-party purchases, made with money that's not theirs to purchase things that will not personally consume. So therefore, will there be waste in the highway department? Of course there will be. Will there be waste in the defense department? You can count on it. So every time we take a dollar away from a person to save and invest and use to the maximum benefit for themselves and run it through a system of third-party purchase called government, we are in the process of making the nation poorer. And it doesn't make a difference who it is, but when people sell the idea, they say that, no, this is the compassionate thing to do. This is going to go for education, or it's going to go for some noble cause. Let's go back to the map of Korea. In Korea, when they divided the map at the 38th parallel at the end of the Korean War, North Korea got the socialism, the third-party purchase, where we're going to care for everybody. And South Korea, they got freedom. Remember the chart? Freedom. And so once any place on that chart where you put a person, whatever city it is, whatever country it is, the greater the government, the greater the poverty. And North Korea is clear way down here towards the slavery end because government does everything for them. So North Korea, over the last 5 years, 2.5 million people have starved. Remember, that's the first thing you do is you get food. Once you get food, then you can build a house. Once you get the house, then you can make an automobile or a TV set or something else. But the first thing you have to do is get food. That's the very first thing. And over the last 5 years, 2.5 million people have starved. You see pictures of the North Koreans. They're all bent over walking around because they eat sticks and grass and leaves and things just to fill up their stomachs. South Korea, same heritage, culture, climate, language. South Korea last year had the 10th largest. All the nations on earth, all 186 members of them at the United Nations, little South Korea, little tiny South Korea was the 10th richest nation on earth. Now, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of Koreans that are here in this room today that are now citizens of Canada or America or the United States. And let me just encourage you, to be sure and vote, because who we vote for will determine whether or not we look like North Korea or we look like South Korea. If there's a church on one corner that's prospering and there's a church on another corner that's failing, there's a reason. And if there's a factory on one corner that's prospering and a factory on another corner that's failing, there's a reason. And if there's a country on one side of a river that's prospering and a country on the other side of a river that's failing, there's a reason. And that's why it's important for you and I to understand what it is, because then we can express our views in politics. The people that promise to do things, let me just give you a quick little example. We hear people talk about a single-payer system. There's a candidate running for president right now that in every speech, he says that he's going to provide free health care for everyone, that there will be one single payer. And believe it or not, people then stand up and applaud at that idea. Now, you already know enough that who's that person going to be? That person will not be you or me, because we would do it to our maximum benefit. Somebody else is going to choose it.